could have been somewhere else, right? And you have a lot of excuses for not being here at all. There's a national holiday going on. You could have been celebrating with your friends even if you are not Muslim. Is there any Muslim amongst us?
Yes.
Actually, you get double award for it. Huge appreciation. Huge appreciation for everyone, especially you, that you made that sacrifice. And yes, you are celebrating. But again, a bigger way to celebrate is actually to pour into yourself. So I applaud you, sir. I want you, as you all look around and you see all these gentlemen and ladies all around here, I know when I was introduced, they said the person behind this. No, let's change that a little bit. I'm not the one behind this, and basically I'm the face of the one behind this, which is God. So I flew here 3 days now, I'm losing my sense of this. Friday night from San Francisco. My name is Lara Derry, as I said, and I'm the president of a foundation called Jewels of Africa Foundation. We've been doing some work in Nigeria for going to about 5 years now. And our work has really centered around how do we transform education in the land, in this great Nigeria? How do we restore Nigeria back to where it used to be when I left this great country about 34 years ago? When I left this country, when nobody should ever have to take their kids to private schools. You will take your kids to private schools if they have challenges and they need special help. But if your kids are kicking and they are good, you will send them to the public schools and you know that they will receive the very best from any public school in the nation. And that was how it used to be. Yes, we all know the story. Yes, you're all teaching in the different classrooms. I know a few of you in this room are probably teaching it because when we started this program, actually when we brought it to Lagos, which was about 3 weeks ago, because we were not thinking about actually extending this to Lagos up until about 3 weeks ago. So I want you to give a round of applause to all of these people here that put this thing together. We've been doing this in 6 other states: Osun, Oyo, Ondo, Ekiti, Delta, and I'm missing one out. 6 states we have been executing this, and we did that on purpose because people in Lagos believe that you're reachable. When people fly into the country, you're the first faces that they see. But people going to in those regions, nobody ever goes to them. People deploy things in Lagos easily because they don't have to travel those roads to go to those regions. So, not that we wanted to exclude Lagos, but we wanted to start from where the need is most urgent. And that was why we started about 5 years ago, going into the different pockets of the country where we know that things have to start changing. And education really, we have to be intentional about it. And we can't wait for our government to do everything for us. So, like I said, the foundation is called Jewels of Africa Foundation. And when you hear the name, when you hear the foundation and you hear the word that it's an NGO, I want to quickly correct any misconception that anyone might have around that. Because I realized coming to the land that a lot of our people are very ill-informed about what NGOs are all about. So NGO, 6 people, when you go to our website, it's called jewelsofafrica.org. Don't put .com, that's a different one. .org. Go in there, look at the people on the faces of those, and that face. You will see 6 people there. Those 6 people are really the channel that God is using to fund everything that we're doing here. They are the ones that reach deep into their wallets and put something down and say, let's do something, because this great nation has deposited something in us years ago. We are all in diaspora, but we want to give something back. We don't have much, we're not Dangote, and I'm not related to Dangote. But each and every one of you can say equally the same thing. You're not Dangote, but you have something. If I come to your house, every one of you will feed me. Is that correct? So if you can feed me, then you can do something. And that's what motivates us, that we can do something. We can do something little. And something little that we think we can do is really around education. If we all pause for a minute and look at everything that is happening in the country today, in Nigeria, we can all write an epistle around the problems, the issues, right and left in the country. But if we really pause and ask ourselves, what the root cause of all these problems are, it goes to the same thread. Our foundation is weak. What does that mean? Our education is really at the rock bottom of it. It can't get any lower than that. When we talk about bad governance, look at the root cause of it. When we're complaining about things not working, look at the root cause of it. When we say our roads are not good, look at the root cause of it. We're sending kids to school, they're coming out. Yes, people are coming out with first class degree, second class upper, but they let's put them on our roads to build roads. We see what we see there. Okay? We are government. We are people that we complain about them. We change them every 4 years, we put somebody else there. We repeat the same thing. Guess what? The people we put in government are not different from those of us sitting in this room. It's a reflection of the people in the society that you see in government. So there's something really going on in the fundamentals of who we are, in our DNA. And when we just shift all of those problems aside and we look at what's going on behind the scene, we strongly believe in Joseph Africa Foundation that our education is really the deepest problem we have in this nation. If you can fix that one thing, we will start seeing everything shift into shape. If we can fix our education and rightfully engage our kids in the classrooms and pour the right content into them, of course they're going to be our leaders of tomorrow. Then they will understand what it is to rule. They will understand the honesty and integrity behind the office that they're holding. Then they will understand that the content of what is being delivered in the classroom is what is expected of them when they go out there to go and do any work, whatever discipline they choose. So let's get that right. And that's where Joseph Africa Foundation has really rooted ourselves. And as we said, these 6 phases are putting the money together. United Nations is not giving us any money. Nobody is putting one cover there. The 6 phases you see on those websites are the ones putting every kobo on the table so to do everything that we're doing. And nothing is free in this land. You all know that. Nothing is free. Even maybe they will start charging us for the air we breathe in. But again, that's just the reality of life. But I'm saying this so that we all get a good understanding of where this is coming from. But we're very passionate about joining hands with our educators because we believe you teachers really hold the key to transforming the nation. Yes, teachers are not appreciated as much as they should be. In most countries, teachers are not. But in our country, it's even worse. Teachers are not appreciated, you guys are not appreciated as much as they should be appreciated. Teachers are the ones training doctors, they're the ones training lawyers. Everything we ever would or will become as a nation starts from the classroom. So our biggest investment in the country ought to be in our teachers. And that's why we organize these training programs. And say we want to engage you. We want to engage you and say how can we partner with you and do it right. And make sure those students that are positioned in front of us every day are getting the best out of us. Yes, a lot of us have gone into schools and we've been trained somehow, and some of us have left school so many years ago. But again, it's not our fault. We're posted into schools that have no books, that have no teaching aids, where we go there really blank. And then people expect us to perform miracles as teachers. So I understand that. And when I'm talking here, I'm not just talking because of what I read or what I heard. I have traveled the landscape of this nation in the last 6 years that we started this journey. I didn't spend a lot of time in the private schools, and I'll tell you why, because again, I have a different opinion, and that's for a different day for the private schools, because again, I call it an organized chaos in the country where everybody now seen opportunity and the crack in the hole and decided to open up a private school to fix the system. That is not the solution. Our public school system still works if we work with our teachers. If we work with those of you sitting here, we will bring excellence. Everyone that is in our government from Buhari to the lowest of them went to public schools. So if that worked for them, why can't it work now? All we need to do is to engage you, partner with you, give you the tools and ammunition that you need to do your job. You are passionate about your career, and I believe that. Because if you're not passionate about your careers, you won't wake up 7 o'clock and start lining up there and say, I want a training where I can be sleeping at home. You're passionate about this, and I applaud that. But we want to join hands with you to make that happen. We want to come alongside of you to do what you do best. We want to equip you with everything that you need, so that again, we can be yet proud of this great nation. And we can see the products coming from our classrooms, and we can be proud of it. And there will be no cost for anyone to send their kids to private schools and just have people, again, just get money out of us for nothing. So that is the whole essence of this. So I want you to take very good advantage of this 1 week. Ask questions, collaborate well, do what you do best, because I see it in all of you. For you to decide to be a teacher, you must have it in you. It's not a job that somebody can pay you for. If they put all the money and stack it in this room, it is not enough to pay a teacher. But we need to appreciate you, we need to come alongside of you. And I will tell you this, Joseph Africa Foundation, we are trying, we will continue to try to come alongside of you, to give you the very best that we could in every way, to make sure that Nigeria is restored back to where it used to be. And we have started this journey. And coming to Lagos State, I'm very excited about it, because I know Lagos leads the way. Lagos leads the way and pioneers things. And then if you can showcase things in Lagos, others will follow suit. So that's the expectation, that's the big expectation and the big dream I have for this in Lagos State. That let's join us together, let's ask you what you need, let's remind ourselves what this is all about. And we have put the curriculum together with the help of our friends from all across outside of the country that are doing exactly the same thing. Educators from the US, educators from the UK. And we have come together and we said, how do we start this journey? When there's an issue of this gravity, you start from the foundation. So this 1 week session is going to really go back to where we should start from. The fundamentals of teaching effectively in your classroom. And we have deployed this in a couple of states, and we have seen the impact, how it's translated in the classrooms. And I believe that is going to even be better and greater in Lagos. Because again, the kids we have in our classrooms, they're good kids. There is no bad kid. But teachers know how to get the best out of every child in their classroom. Every child learns differently. We teachers understand that. So if you have 30 students in your class, they're going to learn differently. Like we are mothers and fathers here in this room. If you have 2, 3 kids, they're not exactly the same. They learn differently. Their currency is different. Let's adopt that as we go into our classrooms. And the people that we have here that are going to be walking us through this journey, we have spent a lot of time to comb through the landscape of this country, to interview, to screen, to unpick them. These are people passionate about this, and they're going to give you the very best. Yes, a lot of them are teaching in this private schools and everything, but they are really honed their credentials, and they're going to, share with us some of their experience in this journey. And it's going to be a collaborative session. We're going to talk about concepts. We're going to take each concept. We're going to take it to work. That's why we set it up like this, like in a working session. So we'll start, I'm sure you've started looking at what the curriculum, the layout is. We'll start curriculum planning. We'll start talking about that. Why do we do that? For everything we do in teaching, there's a reason for that. What is that? So that we can all be on the same page as to the understanding of what that is. What that is the same, but how I apply it as a math teacher is different from how I apply it as an English teacher. But it's the same fundamental. So if we walk through that as individual and we talk about it, and we see the essence of it, And we start from that. And we enrich each other and we share. And everybody goes into their session after each topic is, has been explained and has been shared. And then we put it into practice. At the end of this week, what I would expect from everyone sitting in this room, if you don't take anything at all from this whole session, is that this 1 week program, by the time you get out of here, you have your curriculum plan for the year 2019-2020 done, marked, ready to go. So that when does school start? I think school starts in September. Yes. So if you are teaching physics, you should have your curriculum. If you're teaching physics to SS1, SS2, SS3, you should have your curriculum plan for that physics. What you are going to teach, what the scope is going to be for the whole academic year, week by week. What you are going to teach in week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You all know there are about 40 academic weeks in Nigeria, right? Again, our experts will take you through how you do that. It's more of an art than a science, but this is where everything starts. When you get that right, then we can start talking about lesson notes. Then it makes your life easier. It makes your life easier that you have built a foundation. And then you can take week by week and start decomposing it into your lesson plans. And when you do that, when you plan, you can fail. But when you don't plan, that's where failure creeps in. You are ready to go. So if you don't take anything from this 1 week, I want to see everyone showcase proudly their proud teachers, proudly their lessons plans and their curriculum plan for the year, and we will give awards at the end of the session. Everybody will get certificate, but the ones that really show up will get awards at the end of this week. And I want to encourage you, be on time, be punctual, because there's a lot to pack into the 1 week session. And there's going to be more of this. This is part 1. Part 2, again, is yet to unfold. We're rolling out part 2. Actually, that was why I came in a little bit, because I had to join Osun State via satellite to actually open the This is 2 weeks, because they've had this part 1. Now they're going to the 2 week session, and it's packed. By the time you come out of part 2, actually you should be able to run your own school. And I'm telling you that, without a shadow of a doubt. And you master your domain, you take your career where you want it to be. And that is the whole essence of this. There's no joke around this. We're going to give it everything we have, and we're in Lagos. Lagos set the tone. We're going to set the tone for the rest of the country and know that, Nigeria is not sleeping anymore. We need to wake up of that home. Education needs to wake up, and that's why we want to partner with you. So thank you very much, you guys, for doing that. So basically, there are 5 days. It's really, when I looked at the curriculum myself, I said, it's when we did this, for instance, in Osun State last year, and then I was in Warri, like this time, exactly this time last year. And some of the teachers, even by the second day, these are people that actually studied education in the university, and they said, everything we learned here, even in my 4 years of getting, of university, I did not learn all of this. Like I said, take advantage of it. It's going to take you to the next level. Think beyond the classrooms of what you're teaching right now, whichever school it is. So the grand rules for you to achieve that goal, for these 5 days, we cannot blink. Because if you blink, you will miss something. There's a lot in there. What does that mean? You have to be here on time. You have to be here on time. You have to engage your team. Because each team will be doing a lot of collaborative work. So if somebody starts slacking us, then you are making your week look weak, right? So we're all going to work together as adults, as educators. And we're going to be on time, When we're here, we will have little breaks in between. So I would encourage all of us to make sure that our phones are switched off so that there's no phone calls, distraction, and all of those going on. And then, and again, we can be absent. That's a no. Because if you are absent for, God forbid, something happens and you have to be absent, you can join us in, but unfortunately, you won't be able to get the certificate because you won't be doing justice to somebody that attended 5 days and got the full content, and you that came in 4 days and you expect to get the same certificate, we'll be fooling ourselves, right? So let's just have that understanding that this is 5 days back, of course, we're going to finish early on Friday to observe those who might need to go out and do the prayer and everything else. But we have a lot packed into this content. We expect everybody to be here on time. We expect everybody to engage, and we'll be observing. And we'll be following you to your classrooms. So one of the things that is going to come out of it, because we have engaged actually your state government as well, and they are really excited about this. And they have, your district officers and everybody, they are really, and the SANWO-OLU administration is really keen into this. And what they have asked us is, we start measuring the impact of what we take from this class. So each one of you here is actually going to become a star, because they're going to have your names. They're going to know the schools you're teaching and the subjects you're teaching, right? And they will see how you are progressing, the impact on those children. Because guess what, you're going to lead the rest of the form. Because we're going to roll this training out to all people as time develops. So let's be on time, let's be punctual, let's be ready, let's engage with no distractions at all. Yeah, did I cover the basis for all the rules? Did I cover the basis? And if there's anything I'm missing in those rules there, again, it's very, very important for us to be here 5 days if we want to get those certificates for this. And, yeah, thank you, and you can ask me any other question as we roll on. And during this session as well, we might have, some of the state officials will be coming. We'll just give them 5 minutes because again, we're focusing on ourselves. We're enriching us. So we'll give them 5 minutes to come and acknowledge us, and we'll roll back into our work, and because we have a lot to do. We have a lot to cover. I'm going to hang around. I'm going to be talking to each of you as we go through this journey throughout this week. Well, thank you for allowing us to partner with you to engage with you in this journey. Thank you.
The making of an effective teacher, that's the very first part, and these are the fundamentals of impactful teaching. It's a team building session, exercise. You and I will get ourselves involved in this, because one thing is certain. When we talk about the total school system, it is not just the academic side that we're talking about this time around. We have all other aspects too that come together to make up the total academic delivery, be it in the formal, the non-formal, or even the informal. Before I go on, I want us to just put our hands together for one of our very own director in the Lagos State Ministry of Education. She is the principal of Ilupeju Grammar School. You are welcome, madam. She has risen to the rank and files up to this point as a director. You are welcome. Okay, so the slide will be coming on and then we'll move from there. Before we talk about teaching, before we talk about impactful teaching, before we talk about in life generally, the end result matters in whatever we do. And before you get to that end result, there must be a beginning. And then there must be a procedure. This is what we want to look at when we talk about curriculum. Of course, everybody seated here, we are teachers. We've passed through one form or the other in the field of education, by learning, by experience, by entering into it, in as much as you are handling lives. Because teaching is that profession that deals with life in itself. Yes. So we are looking at we are looking at the curriculum development. We are looking at the scheme of work, and then we're looking at the collaboration that will lead us into teaching the teamwork. I want to believe those at the back you're able to see. However, we'll have that, but what's on the slide, since we have your email addresses, we'll be able to forward same to you. But I want you to be attentive, because at some point, I'll just be cutting in and then I'll be asking questions, taking your questions, your contribution, because we're working together as a team. What do you need to prepare a scheme of work? So we're going to emphasize more here under the curriculum development. Can anybody tell us what's the difference between the scheme of work and the curriculum in itself? Sorry, the second mic. All right. Yes, we can give somebody from the sciences or from the, yes. Tell us something, your own idea.
I'm Alora from Ife. The curriculum is a combination or an outline of all activities that is required for learning for a particular grade level in education. Now, the scheme of work is the outline of topics required to be learned for a particular grade per term, per week in the term. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Let's plan together for that. That's what we're talking about. One of the difference between the curriculum and the scheme of work. May I ask, which is supposed to be on top? Is it the curriculum or the scheme of work as teachers? The curriculum. So when we look at it from that perspective, that we all know, curriculum, that's what is on top, and that is what is filtering down to the scheme of work and then to the lives as we move down the ladder for us to bring about change in a particular setting. So we can define curriculum as a purposeful, progressive, and systematic process to create positive improvements. Don't worry, we have these two as we move on. Don't worry. Make copies and then we send to everybody because we will use it at our individual session. So how is curriculum being developed? That's the very first thing. As a teacher, we don't really need to give ourselves much, let me use the word, much headache to prepare the curriculum. However, our contribution is very necessary because we are the operational units, because we transplant the curriculum into the scheme of work that we will use to teach, to impact knowledge, for there to be a change in a particular system. Are you with me? So the curriculum in itself is derived from a lot of areas that will end up bringing a change. It can equally be curriculum in the traditional setting, curriculum in the modern setting. It depends on what we're talking about. If we go into e-commerce, for example, you see we have different countries that make up the world. And when it comes to e-commerce, you will hear Nigerians will tell you that I'm going to China to go and make something that I'll bring into the country. Already, China, they have already established a particular curriculum that brings about a change in their community. And that is what we want to look at here, because curriculum is very, very necessary, it's important in whatever you do in life. And as educationists, we need to understand what the curriculum is all about. We, as stakeholders, we should be able to tell those in higher authority that brings about the planning of that same curriculum on what will benefit, that's the output result, will benefit the country at large. Be it the socio-economic, be it the religious aspect, cultural, in as much as it will bring a positive change. That is what we're looking at. As in Nigeria, what's our curriculum? What's our targets? What's our focus? I'm throwing that at we're in the teaching field. What are we looking at as teachers? When we see with the curriculum we have now that we are working with. Because I've had cases of some people who tell me, the school where I'm teaching, we train students to write the senior level. So to this end, we just teach for them to enter the exam hall, finish the exam, get their A1 or whatever, and then we move on. But what change would that translate to? Yes, there's a change. There will be a change. There must be a change. It's just one. As at that point, what is the change? A child passed through the system of 6 get between A1 and C6, and the child is good to go. Call that child tomorrow to say, okay, we want to test you. You passed out 3 years ago. Let us even test you again on that same wire. That child will tell you, sorry, I'm above that level, so don't give me that crap. Presently, I'm a below level student, so I should be safe from that perspective. That's what I'm talking about. Some of us are basic tech. That's introductory technology, basic tech teachers there. What is the curriculum? What is the state of the curriculum with regards to basic technology? What is the basic curriculum with regards to the biology we teach today? Are we talking about still drawing the same old cockroach that we have been drawing since 1932? Maybe that is what the government wants us to do. Now, what is the impact of it? We are going to look at it from our previous session, whether science, maths, English, or the arts and humanities. And then we'll talk about it and see how our input matters in the curriculum development. Because if you look up there, we have the national curriculum. We have the curriculum that is restricted to a particular course. Some schools will tell you, for those of us who are teachers in the private institution, when you say, which did you teach? What's your curriculum? What's your scheme? How do you know? Oh, sorry, we have British, American, Russian scheme. I mean, okay, British, yes. Why are you being British? That's the question. Some don't even know. You just want to be British. You are British, Nigeria. You are Nigeria, America. You are American, Ghanaian. You just want to be British. Okay, fine, you are British. Where are you going to? What will be the output? That's the question. You have children whose prospects you have seen that these ones, after their secondary education, they are going to universities in Nigeria here. And you are giving them British curriculum, of which after that period you will not see them visit. I respect one woman a lot. Mrs. Antoinette Omagini. I think she's the Christ Reverse School movement along the Christ Field, along the Lagos, going through Lagos Shagam Expressway, Trigo. That woman will tell you, day one of the orientation, she will tell you that before you, after your acceptance is still pending at the account's office, she will stand and tell parents, we do strictly Nigeria wire. If you know that you're looking for British, American, and whatever, we don't do it here. We don't want to get to that point. We now can start pressuring us to do that. Lagos the government will tell you this is what we do in our schools. The federal government will tell you this is what we do in our schools. Because they are talking about what? The end result. And you need to know the end result from the beginning. So what kind of curriculum are you running? Even you as an individual, what are you doing in your classroom? Based on the curriculum given to you. We were told to go this way, and we are going this way. We are coming in beats. We are not coming down because we are told to remain there. How best can we assess the curriculum? So what we have here is we are now, I've just talked extensively on it. That's just what we're talking about here. Yes, we need to bring things together to develop that same curriculum that we now transfer into our teaching. I teach maths, I teach traditional maths. At times, I've had to teach some students. A child in SS1 just got up one day. He's an art student anyway, and maths is compulsory. You know what he told me? He said, my father happened to be a lawyer, my mother's a lawyer, and I hope to be a lawyer. Now tell me, in the law court, would I not start telling them that you need to differentiate the case and then integrate the plaintiff and the, what's it called? And then now look for the quadratic equation of the court system. I want to know, sir, where are you going to apply that? The child asked that question. I just laughed. I said, you see, the child just believed that mathematics is, I'm just doing that now because I need the credits to move to the next level. After I taught the child, I sat the child there and I gave him instances of after secondary school life, what he wanted to do. I said, you want to be a lawyer, I'm encouraging you to be, but don't forget, there are some elements of mathematics you use there, and you still need to work with it. If you don't have the basic foundation now, then it's going to be a challenge. When I finished talking to that child, the child now understood where we were going. I said, still go back to your dad. You might be a master's holder in law, you might be a PhD holder in law. Ask him, Daddy, what were the rudiments in history when you were studying your law in the university? I said, your daddy will not say anything different from what I was doing. It's also a collaborative teaching. We have developed this mindset. And he's one of the students that is agitating that math should make optional. If it was the compulsory, that's to be for just the science students alone. Pastoral schools, just some students will tell you, I'm not doing further math. Only for them to get, because I want to read accounting, I want to read economics. Only for them to get to the university. Like I can start seeing linear programming. They will not say, where is this one coming from? They are already confused. The element of mathematics is there. For every master student, in the University of Lagos in history, you must pass through NET 840, maths across board. The only people that don't do that course in master's class, they are the mathematics master students again. All others, whether you are doing masters in physics, masters in chemistry, masters in law, masters in this and that, you must do N8, 840. They have even gone as far as putting it down into what? Beats. Faculty of Education will do theirs as what? FEG 840. Faculty of Science, everybody, but you must take pass through that mathematics class. It's very, very important. That is what the curriculum is all about. Yes, ma'am? Oh, yes. So what we have here is this presentation looks at various ideas and items you will need to bring together to develop a scheme of work. So at the end, it briefly considers how you might think of structuring a sequence of lessons, how you could put your scheme of work on paper. Next one. You will still get all this via soft copy. Curriculum is very important. This is typical of your class, based on the importance of the curriculum that you are breaking down to become a skill. The age range of the class matters, the ability of the children, the learning model. The curriculum in itself, we have samples on the board. The curriculum in itself states that this particular country, they are good at fighting wars. So to this end, they want to develop softwares that can launch missiles in, sorry, let me just use this country, say Iraq and say US, for example. They want to launch that missile. So they just, that is their target, because that is what they are looking for. The China people will tell you that because we are talking about commerce, we need to develop our curriculum in such a way that, on the average, every child born in China who is a Chinese should be able to do this, and this, with respect to what contributing to their economy. That is why you see, there are some things we get here in Nigeria. If you find out the nitty-gritty of it, how it is being made there, at times it's just the basic technology students. They are just putting their hands to tests. And then by the time they finish doing that, they now bring it out and say, oh, this is beautiful. It is being imported, exported from there, imported here. And then we say, yes, made in China product, that is what we're using. These are part of the power of curriculum because education in itself brings about change. And the change is always positive. As the president of JLA has rightly said earlier, what kind of graduates are we bringing out at the end of 4 years? We have them as engineers. We are able to give them the contracts. Because when you do the civil engineering of building the bridge across water, only a space of 6 months they will be trained. There used to be one joke that had gone viral. It said 4 lecturers or 4 VCs or something, they were in the airplane or something. They were now posting on, from their country, they were not talking. I teach, they are professors from aeronautic, something. When they were discussing what they said, the first one said, I'm a Russian, my student can do this. The second one said the same thing from another country. By the time we got to the fourth person said, I'm a Nigerian, my people can build this. Everybody just flew out of the aeroplane. Just because in Nigeria building aeroplane, then there is. It shows that even our curriculum, we don't even trust our curriculum. That is the meaning. That's the implication. We don't even trust our curriculum. That's the reason why we are always having this backlog. Children wanting to write exam. The purpose of our exam in Nigeria or state house of education is the certificate, not what you can do and do absolutely. And two, not what you want to achieve to bring about transformation. That is why we see students who want to run to one special center or the other just because they want to pass. We are not saying that you should not pass. Don't let us look at educationists. We are not saying that. What we are saying is that when you pass well. But whatever you have learned remains with you. You are able to apply it to make a change in that particular community where you are. We tell our students, anyone I meet, I tell them if you do agricultural science or you do fishery, you should be able to what? Learn that. Even at your young age, you should have a mini pond at the back of the house. Thank God the Nigerian economy is improving. That I can tell. For them to tell you that you can only have loans, such loans, that you can use to run certain businesses. Banks have been sending such text messages to our students. What are we talking about here? As a teacher, we should be able to encourage our students. We should not wait for them to be, you can only survive or be prosperous when you get to 45 years. No, you can start now. Having a mini pond at your backyard of only 20 catfish, and you start from there. That is, you have learned something from the curriculum that is bringing about a change. Kudos to Nigeria for that under the entrepreneurial subject. Let's come to the other part. So when we look at it now, information about the section of the curriculum. Which section are we looking at? The exam, the syllabus. When we talk about the section, we are talking about the NECO being organized, the Nigerian exam, the WIAC, West African Examination Council, being organized by the West African countries. We have some of us in our schools, we do the IGCSE. Some of us will do the XSL. All those ones are foreign. But the two major ones that we emphasize in our country is WIAC and NECO. And NECO is more of a Nigerian thing. How concepts are being developed based on the mapping. Then we look at, we can have samples, even from, by the time we get to our session, we look at it. Mathematics, I know the sciences they have, the humanities they have, as well as the other section. And then we now relate these aspects to working scientifically. That is where the scheme of work will now start its development. We check the entrepreneurial skills, data processing that concerns mathematics and ICT. We want to teach the children how to translate mathematical concepts into technological wise that is using the computers. And by the time they do that, they will be able to work with all other sections to bring about quality teaching, quality learning, that will bring about what? Quality change in an environment. The ideas of conceptual difficulties. Of course, and definitely, difficulties we encounter. That is why we first of all started with the age, and then the age range and the ability. If we go into our main session, there's something we are going to discuss under maths and ICT because I'll be calling that stage here under curriculum mapping. You will see that there are certain things, there are certain topics, or there are certain ideas, because curriculum is progressive, because change in itself is not constant. Change is the only constant thing that keeps what? Changing itself. When there's a change now, improvement will come in, you change again. When there's a change now, improvement will come in, you change again. That is why change is the only constant thing. But the word constant in that particular sentence is not to just stand at a place. It's just have to what? Keep changing in itself. So change is a means to an end, but not an end in itself. That is what change is. We're going to look at some ways of breaking down, because the curriculum for mathematics, for example, when you build the curriculum, we are talking about the application of, say, log reading. Now, the concept of log reading, talking about ideas of conceptual difficulties. the levels at which you teach that for the senior school, they vary because the age matters. Of course, we know that when we want to get the best out of the child, that child will be mature enough. Let us erase our mindset from where we're talking about a 2-year-old child. We hear parents, there's one caption. The principal, the child came to school. You know, the parents, they were complaining to the principal that, madam, telling my child to spell cow is relatively too big. At least a child of 2 years should tell him to spell mosquito, housefly. I mean, you can see that we're talking about, the parents is talking about the item there. But the principal is talking about what? A 3-letter word, cow. And the parents see cow as one very big animal. Ram as big animal. Let my child start spelling from mosquito, housefly. I mean, so you can see that teaching itself too has its own approach to delivery. And then you are going to see how to apply these materials, whether math, English, physics, languages, or whatsoever. By the time we start applying it, and we look at the age range, that is where item 3 that I talked about earlier fall in place. You see that it's progressive. I have learned logarithm based on whole numbers. I'm learning logarithm again because I've added a year to my age, that is the next class. I'm learning that based on decimal fractions, and I'm learning that based on without the use of odd table. You see that we are moving progressively. The same thing applies to every other topic. And then the application of what you have learned into bringing about the change. I can't tell my basic teacher, a basic science teacher, a basic tech teacher, but presently we are merging to basic science and tech. At times, what the children do, they should be able to, what you teach them, they should be able to do it and bring it out, even for exhibition, for relative improvement in the system. We all know about a young inventor and invention that the federal government organizes every year. Those things are part of what the curriculum does. So at the end of it all, that child or those children will become future engineers, will become future lawyers, will become future doctors that will not take the economy to the next level. Of course, some of us can testify about power. There's relative improvement about power presently in Nigeria. We're not talking about 24 hours anyway, but at some point, there's that 1, 2, 3, 5%, and we are getting there gradually. Let us believe in ourselves, because even the Americans will tell you, it's what they can do for the country, and not what the country will do for them. Let that be our mindset too. Next slide. The management information. These are the information for the managers. These are the information for the curriculum planners. The time, the number of lessons, the room. You are equally a manager, because when you are in that particular class, despite the fact that you and I are the operationals, that is, you are the one making the delivery, all these things must be part of the information we need to have. The learning support, the time, how many days or how many hours do you need for this particular concept to be taught, and for the learners to understand, and then for them to apply. That is the contact periods. How many lessons am I to fix? Out of 4 hours, can I do 2 lessons? Then 1 interaction and 1 application? Those are the kind of questions you ask yourself. That is why we call it the management information. Anywhere you are, whether you are in the topmost or the bottom part of the echelon, you are equally a manager, because you are leading a particular set of persons, whether it is what the high level learners or the low level learners, irrespective of you are leading 1, 2, 3 persons, you are equally what the manager. Then what learning support we are talking about? That is sort of like your teaching materials, your aim. You must understand what you want to deliver from the curriculum. If you don't understand what you want to deliver, you will not be able to plan it progressively for it to work well for the children to have better understanding and better application. Your equipment. What apparatus? What related worksheets do you have? These are practical mathematics. You can check Math's website. We have a lot of websites. We will give them to you. We will give them to you. As Charles rightly said, one of the speakers earlier, Lagos State has really shown greater level of improvement in terms of technology. I can testify to that because I have experienced it. 1, 2, 3 schools, even within District 2 of Lagos State Ministry of Education. Very large is District 2. I want us to recognize the presence of officials from the Lagos State Ministry of Education, also representing the Lagos State government, Mr. SANWO-OLU.
A very good morning to all of us this beautiful morning in the month of August. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to everyone here, irrespective of the festive period. We've waded through and we've found out that this is a better option. So I want all of us to clap for ourselves. I want to appreciate the organizers of this laudable training, and then on behalf of the Lagos State government, on behalf of our able governor, Mr. SANWO-OLU, I want to say thank you for considering Lagos at this time. From what I've learned, they've been all over, and I always bypassing Lagos, thinking we have it all. But honestly, we need you more. Yeah. We need NGOs like this to support the training of our teachers. I was discussing with my brother here, who you get to know later, that indeed the state government cannot do it alone. We need this sort of partnership to assist us, not only in training our public teachers, but teachers generally in Nigeria. You all agree with me. There's a difference between education and learning. There's a difference between learning and training. Whatever you are going to go through in this 1 week rigorous learning, no one can take it from you. It remains with you. But the only thing we want you to do for us is to impact it generously. Be the trainers. Help when you leave this training center to impact it onto others, your colleagues especially, and your students. They mean a lot to us. You don't give what you don't have. So as you're being given today, please be generous in sharing it. And as you share it, you know what God says? God loves exactly. So I believe that as you give it your all, God has a way of recompensing us all in various ways. And I believe, God, that our team from the United States were indeed grateful. We are grateful. The state government is grateful. The education sector is grateful. And you can't know how grateful we are for including us in this setup, because we could have come into town, do what we want to do, and get out. We will feel the impact. But this, I assure you, the state government is going to feel the impact, and due season, we will recompense. Thank you. I want you to please be attentive. Run with this. This is the only thing no one can take from you. And at the end of it all, to all the facilitators, to the organizers, on behalf of the state government, once again, I appreciate everybody. Thank you and God bless you.
Well, I want to say a big thank you to the Jewels of Africa Foundation for putting this event together. They left all the way in San Francisco, and they came to Lagos to come and impart knowledge to you all. And they deserve a round of applause. Because they are from diaspora, and as the governor's senior special assistant on diaspora and foreign relations, I know the impact that the diaspora will have to play when it comes to developing the educational sectors, and even Lagos as a whole. And that's why I'm so excited when I see people from abroad coming back to invest in their motherland. It's true that education or even information is power, but once knowledge is neutralized, that's when it is maximized. So you that are being trained today, that are learning new skills and new applications to impact knowledge to people, make sure that you embrace it, you internalize it, and you use it on your day-to-day interactions with the children in schools. Now, it's not just what you teach that matters, it is how you reach those students. It's not just about communication, it's about connection. And for us to move Lagos to become a 21st century economy, as Dr. SANWO-OLU has so beautifully said in his team's agenda for this administration, we need 21st century teachers who are going to impact 21st century knowledge to our students in our classrooms. Are you a 21st century teacher? Yes. I think I'm in one place. Are you a 21st century teacher? And I'm sure you are. I'm sure you really are, because you are filled with so much energy, so much passion, so much eagerness to learn, but also to impact that knowledge to people. The first Prime Minister of Israel said this powerful word. His name is David Ben-Gurion. He said that it is not that you don't have to be up to date in this day and age, but you need to be up to tomorrow. It's not about having information for today, but about making sure that your life and your knowledge base is ready for the challenges of tomorrow. The teachers of tomorrow should be up to date with information, using technology, using all manners of available resources that you have. Now you have applications that you can use to better communicate with students. You have the internet that you can draw from knowledge from around the world to make sure that the children who are our leaders of tomorrow, who are actually influencers of today, have what they need to power their ambitions, power their dreams, and take Lagos to the next level. So I believe that today is the beginning of your journey to greater change. So get excited, get prepared. You have a couple of days to learn. Ask the person next to you, are you hungry? If you're hungry to learn, let that desire, that fire, that passion push you to develop yourself and to also develop a greater Lagos. God bless you.
Jewels of Africa Foundation, we say thank you for this program, for giving it faith to impact our teachers. Like we all know now, it's a global village. There is nothing happening anywhere in the world that Nigerians are not partakers of. And we are ready and we are eager to learn. And one thing we say, which we know is that in Lagos State, at least in the southwest of Nigeria, we are leading. We are leading and we'll continue to lead. And like the last speaker said, the thing is that the theme of Lagos State government, the governor, the present governor of this administration, Governor Babajide SANWO-OLU, the theme, one of the things is about education, and we are all aware of this. And he has given us that assurance that he's ready to impact teachers. He's ready to impact teachers, he's concerned about your welfare,
is ready to make sure that we go for trainings so that anywhere in the world, the moment you say you are a teacher from Lagos State, whoever, wherever, you can stand and you can impact what you have learned and be able to give this back to the students. And in Lagos State, our schools are well equipped. Most of our labs are, ICT labs are standardized. They are standardized and our children, I can tell you this with confidence because it is what I know. An average school in Lagos State has ICT labs that are powered. Even some of our labs have solar systems. And our children, we encourage them to go online and find out all they can. But most of the time, you know, children and youth being what they are, if the teachers themselves are not equipped, we'll not be able to care them positively. So I believe that at the end of this program that is taking place between now and Friday, you'll be able to go back to the school system and be able to impact what you have learned. Thank you.
Like I told you all, we put this thing together for Lagos State in a period of 3 weeks because we're not thinking about Lagos. But again, God stopped us in our track and said, you must stop in Lagos. And I must give it to my brother and here, Mr. SANWO-OLU, because he kept on my toes. He kept honest. He kept me honest on my toes and said we can do this. And that's what's giving us the booster for this. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, that when Lagos catches cold, when Lagos sneezes, the rest of the world will catch cold. And this is powerful. Like I said to you, Lagos sets the tone for Nigeria. Lagos sets the tone for Nigeria. I came here last year, I went to CMS Grammar School. I said, this is it. This is what we can work with. And that's why organizations like us exist. This is the land of my birth. I left this country over 35 years ago as a teenager. And because God will not leave me alone, He wants me to come back like Nehemiah. For those of us who are Christians, we understand that. And I see that come to fruition with everything that everyone just said here. That's where I see that this is really unfolding. We are here, we're fully engaged, and we give you everything that we need, that you need as a state to lead the nation. Because again, Lagos State is the pioneer state for Nigeria. We need to rightfully take our position. And the government cannot do it by itself. We all need to come together. There is no nation. There is no nation. But call it the US that I came from, that does education by themselves or do anything of this gravity by themselves. And we have to be very intentional with it. We have to be very intentional in pouring into the next generation, our next leaders, where we want to go. The 21st century is very aggressive. And for some of you who have started seeing technology evolve, some of us, I came from Silicon Valley where technology changes every 3 months. And if you're not catching, if you're blinking, the next 3 months will become obsolete. And that's the way the pace the world is going. And I like in the tone of what we started today. We're not just teaching students to pass exams in Nigeria. We're very intentional. We're teaching our students to be able to go out there and build our roads, so that we won't call the Chinese to come and build our roads. We're teaching our students to be architects that can build skyscrapers, so we won't have Genius Burger doing everything for us. We're teaching them so that we won't have to go and be sick and take ourselves to the UK and the US just to get ourselves healed. We have fine minds. We are brilliant minds. People like us, unfortunately, are investing in other nations and giving them our very best, and they are applauding us. But again, the thing is, investing people like us will never. And that's why I know I belong to this land, and I must come back and deposit it. And again, this is being helpful to do. And again, I'll give you my commitment, Lagos State today. I give you my 100% commitment, and let's be excited about the new government. Let's be excited about it, because it takes a bold mind to say education is really what I want to tackle in all of the problems, in all of the noises all around us. Education is the fundamental. If we can solve that, if we can fix education in this nation, if we can be intentional about it, everything will start falling in place. And how delighted we are at Jewels of Africa Foundation that we can partner with Lagos State, because you just hit the biting point. You are the biting point in Lagos State. And thank you for that.
Run through these slides to understand some basic things that we need to know as colleagues, because we are all together in this same noble profession. So quickly we're going to go through these, and then we're now going to break later on into a different session to see how it works. For those of us that have been using it, okay, how better can we improve on what we have been doing? What more can we do to make our students better? What more can we do to prepare our students for the future? What more can we do to ensure we create a better society for ourselves and for our children and for the ones that are still coming? So that's the essence of going through these before we break into our different sessions and then look at it together in our different groups in a collaborative manner. I had an experience. I want to start from there. So our topic basically, an educational leader's guide to curriculum mapping. That's our focus. And I want to start by sharing an experience. See, sometimes we think we're not doing that too well here in Nigeria. Last October, I was privileged to lead a team to Canada. And then we spent 10 days with our partner school in Canada. And then we saw what they were doing. And we're like, oh, in Nigeria, we do far beyond this. And we're not even appreciated as much as they are. And at the end of the day, we got to see that we're not doing badly as teachers even in Nigeria. And I want us to do what? Appreciate ourselves this morning. Please, can we appreciate ourselves? Some definitions that we need to take away from here. I was so happy somebody in the science group already talked about what the curriculum is. So we're going to be talking about defined terms related to curriculum mapping. We're going to look at the benefits of curriculum mapping. Also, we're going to look at what are the significant factors that are relevant to curriculum mapping. Then we're going to describe the curriculum mapping processes. Then finally, we look at how we can develop a positive learning environment with curriculum mapping. There's so much to talk about within the very short space of time that I have. So what I'm going to do, I'll just quickly run through what we have here. Then after different sessions, I know our different team leaders will talk much more about this. They're going to break it down to the nitty-gritty to make it more, easier for us to work with. Now, defining the curriculum. What is a curriculum? Somebody already told us that before, that is an outline activities of all that we want to learn in a particular period of time. Also, we would like to define it as all the learning which is planned and guided by the school. It could be something that is done individually, or it could be something that is done as a group. Please don't bother yourself writing. This will be sent to you. Thank you. Because of my time. All right, so that's the definition of curriculum from my own standpoint. All right. Then we're also looking at what then is curriculum mapping. Now that we know what a curriculum is, what is curriculum mapping? Simply, curriculum mapping can be said to be documentation and discussion of what we teach, or a process of collecting and recording curriculum-related data that identifies the following. 1, core skills. Just want to ask, we are familiar with 21st century skills. Please can we mention them, the 21st century skills? Yes? Collaboration. Critical thinking. Yeah, problem solving. Yes. Creativity. digital literacy. I know we are familiar with all these things. That's why I'm saying there's nothing extraordinary about what we are talking about. So these four skills, they are part of the things that we need to look at in our curriculum and under curriculum mapping. So they form the core elements. One of them is core skills. Then the content that we teach. The content taught is also part of what we're talking about. Then the process to be employed to pass across our content, the knowledge to the children, so that we can impact them positively. And then lastly, assessment that we use. I learned something. Now in Canada, they don't do objective question 1 to 20, choose A, B, C, whatever. What they do now is practical application questions. I did something with my children, JS1 students, when I came back. In one of the exams for BSc, in basic science, I gave them, okay, write 5 ways, JS1. Write 5 ways by which we can solve the problem of epileptic power supply in Nigeria. And I was amazed at what 10 years old, 11 years old were writing a solution to the problem of epileptic power supply in Nigeria. I couldn't believe what they were writing because I felt it was far beyond them. But little did I remember that we are in the age of information. These children have access to information even more than we, their teachers. So please, let's begin to explore these potentials that they have. Our children are knowledgeable. They have access to information. So let's make them begin to answer real questions of life and begin to see how they can solve our problems. I had the representative from the government saying that building roads, our children can build our roads. We don't need to wait for somebody from somewhere to come and be building roads. We don't need it. So that's what we should begin to prepare our children for. The challenges in our nation, how they can solve them in the future. And we can only do that by assessing them correctly. So what are the components of curriculum mapping? I just mentioned them: core skill, process, content, and assessment. We are going to have this. Yes? Can we move? So why use curriculum mapping? That's part of the reason why we're here today. Why do we need to use curriculum mapping in our different schools? What's the essence? Why do we need it? Number one, it will benefit all our students. Then it's a communication tool that's going to help us all to get across what we have to our children. Then mapping is a planning tool. It keeps us focused and targets essential information. Apart from that, it promotes professionalism. And that's one thing that we need the most in education today. We need to show that we're professionals. We need to let the other professionals know that we are indeed professionals to the core. And I think that's a missing link in today's education in Nigeria. But we need to work on it. Now, benefits of curriculum mapping. We're going to have this. I'll just run through quickly. It improves instruction and maintains quality of education. Number two, it addresses academic gaps. Now, there is something that we are not doing now that we need to do. It is our time as teachers that we begin to have the big picture and begin to project into the future. How many of us know that some professions in some few years' time they are going to fade out? They are becoming irrelevant. Soonest, some of us might not know it if you have not woken up to that reality. Soonest, as a lawyer, you might become irrelevant because now there are arts that can play a role. As an accountant, we have different kinds of applications now in use that will make much more accountant redundant. And even us as teachers. I believe we all now know that we have artificial intelligence equipment that are able to take our place in the classroom. How many of us are aware? Please, let's be aware. The number of teachers in the future is going to be minimum. So you better prepare yourself and be ready for the future. So we need to prepare our children for the future. We are aware now that most of our children are not doing what we used to do in those days in terms of profession. True of us? True of us? How many children now you tell, oh, want to be a medical doctor? They just look at you. That they want to be a footballer. True of us? Why? Things are changing. They know that there are other things that you can do to make money rather than except you have the passion and the calling for it. Can we move on? Alright, so what are the process of curriculum mapping? We want to quickly look at some of the process of curriculum mapping so that when we get to our different groups, we know what we are talking about and we know what to really do. Now, you have your curriculum. You have, like he said, you have broken them down into pieces, into beats, a scheme of work for SS1, SS2, SS3, depending on what you are teaching. Now, you need to now sit down. How do I go about this? So the very first thing to do is make a spreadsheet. So you're going to make a spreadsheet. That's part of what we're going to do in a different group. We're going to do a spreadsheet like an Excel sheet. I'm sure we understand what I'm talking about. Do we? Yes. At the back? Okay, thank you. So we're going to make an spreadsheet. Now, after that, what do we do next? Then we will plan a timeline that we will need to cover that topic or whatever scheme that we have in place for that period of time. Say for 1 quarter, it could be for a semester, it could be for a year, depending on the level of grade that we are teaching. Then, okay, so here we have, we've covered, then we're going to enter into that spreadsheet the intended learning outcome. There's a word that has been resonating since we started this morning. I've been hearing intentional, intentional, intentional. That means that we must be intentional as teachers. So we must enter our intended learning outcome. What do you want your children to be, to become at the end of 1 year? Can I ask a question? I asked the same question in a place like this some few weeks back. Please, before my time is over, can I ask this question, please? Can I ask this question, please? No. How many of us sitting here can remember what we were taught in secondary school in a particular subject? You can remember vividly. Ma, you can. What subject? Why? No, why?
Because I learned.
You learned it yourself?
I read it, I understood it.
Oh, by yourself?
Yes.
I'm looking at somebody, their teacher. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. My mathematics teacher.
All right.
Although I didn't try for education.
Okay.
My math teacher made me a mathematician.
Can you see that?
I can never forget him, even though I've not seen him ever since.
Okay. Please, let's give them a round of applause. Let's appreciate it. If your children do this in class, you'll be angry with them. Please, can we appreciate them? Now, most of us, including me, even in my university days, there are some courses I can't even remember. They are no longer relevant to me. But that shouldn't be the essence of teaching. Every topic you teach, everything you teach must be intentional. There must be an impact on a child's life that the child will keep remembering. And that child will keep remembering you as a teacher. Is that what we are doing as teachers? Those are the questions I want us to ask ourselves this morning. So we must be intentional. Okay. Then we need to enter the content area or the subject area to be covered. You can see that on the board. Then we need to be able to enter and align the name of resources available. What textbooks are you using? What book module are you using? Whatever it is that you are making use of, you should be able to put it down as your resources. Yes? Okay. Then you should be able to decide the learning method that will enable you to achieve your outcome. So these are the things that we're going to be doing. For example, here I have discussion method. Yes? Then we should be able to enter and align the assessment procedure and tools to the intended learning outcomes, content areas, and resources. So what kind of tests am I going to give my children at the end of the day that will impact them and that will impact our society at the end of the day? Very important. Not just about question 1 to 5, A, B, C, D. Just give me the answer. I don't have time for all this marking wahala. This is not the time for that. I have 120 scripts to mark. So how do you expect me to do all that? I am the, did I kill Jesus? You know we have a lot to do as teachers. Okay. Then, the last but not the least, we circulate the map among all involved personnel for their input. So you can meet with people in your faculty, in your department. Like in this school, I'm privileged to be the head of studies. So what we do, once you are done with what you have prepared, we meet together as a faculty. And as a head of schools, I'm with them. Okay, what have you done? How did you go about it? And we make a different input to make it better for that teacher. So that when that teacher enters the class, he can create a very great learning experience for the children. Something they will keep remembering all the days of their life. No, they can't forget that man. I can't forget this topic. This is the way it impacted me. Not just with the content, but as well as skills taken out of your classroom. So, yeah. Okay. Number 9, the last but not the least, revise and refine map based on suggestions and distribute to all concerned. Okay, this is just a scheme. We'll be doing this in our different areas. Go. Now this is where I'm going. Finally, just 1 minute and I'm out of it. Alright, the big picture. Before you start even the mapping, you must have the big picture. As a teacher, what skills are these children going to take out of my biology class at the end of my one session? 2019-2020. What goal do I have as a teacher? What expectation do I have for my children? What are they going to take out of my class at the end of 1 year? In terms of skills, in terms of values, in terms of knowledge content, in terms of assessment, what kind of impact am I going to have on them that will keep speaking all the remaining days of their lives? And when they are asking them, who is your best teacher? You don't have to think twice. Think twice. There's only one name that should come on their list. You know what the name is? Kola Uyelade. That's always my goal. Thank you very much.
students. Yes, that's the question given. How can curriculum mapping improve students' performance? As you can see, we have employing the use of MELT strategy. The first one, the first letter there is methodology, which leads to mentoring leads to methodology. And we have E as for enforcement, L for learning, T for teaching. And this leads to reward and reinforcement, learning outcomes, student-centered and simple to complex learning. And the achievement it creates a permanent experience, inspiring the student and creates a learning outcome which later leads to focus of the student. Then the constraint that we have, lack of fund, unavailability of instructional media, lack of motivation for superiors, and undue protocols and cumbersome curriculum.
To answer question number 2, which says that how can we take apart assessment data and match our findings into our marks? The concept we use in analyzing these data are this: the learner's interest. We look at the interest of the learner. Let's say you pick a particular child, the learning profile, the learning style. When you consider all this, you can now match our finding into the teaching method, the interaction with parents, documentation on each child, and tracking the learner's progress.
Question 3. Ways of assisting other teachers and administrators in developing and implementing curriculum mapping. First and foremost, you have to be a model. And secondly, make a proposal to your administrator. Then thirdly, organize orientation through in-house training. Then fourthly, through collaboration and teamwork. Thank you.
The outline of this has already been given in the previous session before the break. So the processes for curriculum mapping, you make a spreadsheet, have a column, the first column where you have which term you are considering, and then break it down into weeks in the rows below it. Move down to intended learning outcome. The next column, in that intended learning outcome for week 1, we want to recognize the significance of biology. The next column, write the content area. The content area is significance of biology. That means the topic you want to discuss that week. The next column, talk about the resources you are going to use, the textbooks or workbooks as required. The next column, enter your teaching learning methods that you are going to use. Discussion method, whatsoever form of method you want to use. The next column, assessment procedure and tools to be used for evaluation. In the next column, you now circulate the map to your superiors and then finally revise and refine the map based on the suggestions given. Thank you.
How can curriculum mapping improve students' performance?
One way is through problem solving. A learner has to identify the problem first. Having identified the problem, we now make the learner to know what he or she will do. And that will involve critical thinking and creativity. Because if a learner identifies the problem, the next thing is to do what are ways where I can the problem. And for that learner to solve the problem, he or she must be creative. Creative in the sense that bringing in new ideas in order to solve his problem. And equally it will lead to professionalism in the terms of teacher. A teacher must be a professional. must have the mastering of the subject you are teaching, so that even if the student asks you question, you should be able to defend your problem. Because if you are not okay with your subject, you won't know how to solve it. So professionalism plays a role when it comes to teaching and learning process, and that will lead to teaching focus. Focus here involved in the part of a teacher and the part of a learner, in the sense that a teacher must be focused. Focus in what way? You must be a master of your subject. You must know what to do. You must know the technique, the tactics, the method, the strategy you have to do in order to make learning to be interesting to your learner. Because if you are not focused, if you are not talented, if you are not creative, there is no how a student will participate. That we may at times we see in schools, we see student learners, they are not participating. Simply because the teachers do not bring in new ideas, new methods, new approaches in order to make learning to be effective. So that is it. Second question.
How can we take a part assessment data and merge our findings into our maps?
In fact, there are several ways we can make learning to be interactive. One way is through oral assessment. There is no need every time, there is no need for us to be giving text all the time, objective questions. At the end of any learning objective, there is need for us to ask oral questions to our learners. By so doing, we have to know whether the learners are following or not. And also, we have to know our learners by their name. Pointing at their name, calling their name, God, or yeah, you answer to make the learning to be effective. Another way is research work and assignment. Yes. Indulge your students to embark on research. Thank God for the internet. Indulge them to go on research. Bring out new ideas. Even I tell them to read ahead of your subject, so that when you are teaching, they will follow well. Another one is really like assessment. Yes. This is a practical creativity. In a sense, you have to make your learning to be real. In one sense, I teach economics. Maybe I want to teach money. There are ways to make my learning to be interactive. I have to bring in different currencies, both the ancient one, even another other country currency. In that sense, when a student sees that thing, that will motivate him or her to learn more. Another one is project work. Even then, it can be individual project work, it can be group work. With any method, you try to make sure that your learners understood the topic before they're able to go back to that project. Then, linking teachers, yes. We must try as much as we can to find strategies. Even forming songs with our topic, so that when a student, even if a student is sleeping, you tap him or her, what is so, the student will be able to learn it. Or if they reply, they say, this teacher, I so much love this teacher, because he can teach, effectively. That's one way of doing it. Another one is presentation, drama, and quiz. Yes. Form a topic, choose a topic, make it lively. Form drama, let the student form drama based on your topic. Let them form quiz, ask them quiz questions, even debates on money. Okay, I teach questions, let me ask them, why do we prefer using money? Why is it that Nigerian currency is better than Ghana currency? It's a debate. That's all to make your learning to be interactive and interesting. Then the third question.
How can we assist our teachers and administration to developing an implementation plan for carrying out curriculum mapping?
Yes. Here I was able to use a travel platform. First, for anything learning outcome to achieve, there must be implementation. In there we have a curriculum developer, we have the principal who serve as the supervisor, we have the teachers that try to impart the learners to learning to the learners. Then we have the learners, which is the objective of what we are teaching. Then we have the feedback. The learners here having taught them, you have to know whether your learner was able to achieve what you have taught them. And by so doing, we are able to answer your question correctly. When you ask an impromptu question to them, we are able to answer past questions. We are able to sit or make you proud, so that if they come out, your students will come out with the flying color. So we have to know that the curriculum developer, the principal, the teachers the learners, that's the main target we are dealing with. And we have to know the key one is to achieve the goal. Our goal is to make sure that our learners were able, answer our queries. Then the last one,
What are the curriculum mapping process?
there are so many processes. We have the topic, we have which is the key, you have to know the topic, which can be subtopic and so on. We have to know the time. The time limit you should not exceed. Whether 30 minutes, whether 40 minutes, whether you are going to handle 2 periods at a time, you know how to maximize your time. We have previous knowledge or prior knowledge. Your topic must be related to your new topic. You are going to teach a new topic. Try to make sure that it is related in the sense that you have to make sure the students are familiar with what you are doing. I still emphasize on my money. Maybe I want to teach my students money. I will now ask them, I will bring out money, or have to show that, have any of you seen any currency? Or how many of you come with any money? Some will bring out 5 naira, some bring out 10 naira. That will lead to my topic. So in that case, they have to have a prior knowledge of what we are teaching. Another one, the resources. Yeah. What are the process? The means whereby you were able to get it. This involves the textbook. And after that, you have to know the author of what it. Then we have the content. The content of what you are, that is the overall, the theme of what you are doing must be there. But please, my friends, bear in mind that your curriculum must be relevant to your learning outcome. Make sure that your curriculum must tally with your learning outcome. That is the way in order to make your learning to be interesting and interactive to the student. Thank you.
Good morning, class. I'm Mrs. Owolabi from mathematics section. I want to repeat everything that has been said, but I will just try as much as possible to add something to what she has said. The first question is talking about how can curriculum mapping improve student performance. And the first thing we put here is that it will enable the student to see these different subjects. Some of these subjects has been the same. That is, the concept of this is not quite different from the concept of the another. That is the most important thing that the student will be able to get when we have mapped our curriculum together. See that some subjects are related and connected. That's the first one. Another thing we put here is that students will learn more from the outcome of the teacher's collaboration. You know, we are talking about mapping now. So by the time the teacher comes together to map the curriculum together, definitely the student will gain. Even when there is reason for a student to move from one place to another, whether in terms of school, from one school to another, since the teachers have come together to map the curriculum, to strategize, definitely the student will not miss out wherever he or she finds him or herself. Then another thing we put here is that it will improve the students' skill and performance through the teacher's teamwork. Improve their skill in the sense that whatever they have learned will be permanent with them. That is, even in future, if there is need for them to recall, they will be able to recall that topic or what they have learned from the topic. And under the second question. Okay.
How can we take apart assessment data and merge our findings into our maps?
Yes, we said that the first thing we should do is to identification of related subject, topic, and concept. You identify the related subjects. That is, economics and commerce, they are related. Their concepts, their topics is more or less the same thing. When we talk about mathematics and further maths, they are related. So that should be the first thing. When you identify, that means you are bringing together your data. Then you discuss and interpret these data that you have collected. That is all the questions, all the things that you have identified, ability to discuss them among ourselves. Then identify areas for improvement. You know, by the time I bring my answer to a particular question out, and another teacher brings another answer to it, will we be able to relate it together and bring out the best definition for that topic? And we said establish appropriate action step, then this way we bring about the change that we need, ability to implement change. Then number 3,
how can we assist our teachers and administrators in developing an implementation plan for carrying out curriculum mapping?
It's brought down to nothing but in-house training. We are being trained now, and the ability to go back to our different place and impart this knowledge on others definitely will help both the teachers that are not here and the administrator. And the last question is talking about process. Process is process. So I don't need to start reading what she has read. Thank you.
In addition to what she has said, there is sample, when we have sample procedure, we suggest the opinion of the students. Then the student will have when they have the figure, when we have written the objective, they are not going to have the bigger picture of what they are to learn in the class. Thank you.
Which group we have our points?
Question number 1. How can curriculum mapping improve student performance?
Okay, we'll just go straight into what we have here. First, we said we agree that it helps in understanding the trend. Okay, it helps in understanding the trend, that is the happenings and the students' psychosis as it happens within their own environment. And again, we said that curriculum mapping also helps in improving students' performance. I think, okay, again we have it guides proper teaching and learning process. Then it helps in the relevance, understanding the relevance of the content that is to maintain and observe curricular topics. Then it also helps in content and context relevance in order to narrow down the broader topics or ideas. In all of this, when we bring all this together, it helps in improving students' performance, especially the understanding of the topic itself. Thank you.
Question number 2. How can we take apart assessment, data, and merge our findings into our mapping?
Thank you very much. For taking assessment and data merged to produce map, we must first of all consider the age, the mental, and the chronological of the student in the class. Then we must consider their previous knowledge. I want to give an example of GSS2 students. In language, we have three major languages, English language, French language, and Yoruba language. And when we are considering this, their previous knowledge is the one that will go into these doors to be able to know their strength. We can know this by drawing question and answer onto them in the class. Their response will now lead you to be able to know their strength and their weakness. When you have done this, their weakness now build on it, you correct all the necessary mistakes. Before you go to the next topic, you will make sure that all students have dictionary. That has to do with resource level base. They must have textbooks. There's no way you can teach a language without textbook. And it is dictionary that will assist you, the student, to be able to understand exactly what you are teaching. For example, let's take the topic adjective. I'm a French teacher. Now, in French, you must know that French language must considered feminine and masculine when they are learning their things. And when you are learning this topic, the student must be able to understand that they must consider the gender as well as the numbers. Unlike in English. In English, let's say as I've given you the topic that is adjective. I want to take adjective, and in English you say a small boy. In French, we translate it as un petit garçon. Then in English we say small girl, a small girl. The French translates as une petite fille. Une petite fille. That is a small boy. Now, we want to say some small boys. I hope you are following me now. Some small boys. There will be changes in the adjective because the adjective and the number must increase. The number will dictate what you are going to use for singular and the plural. Now, let's say some small boys now will be des petits garçons. And the petit there will carry S. The number then will change to, instead of N, will change to D. Yeah? Then, when you are referring to females now, females will be des petites filles. The petite there will carry E and S along. While the fille also will carry S. Unlike in English, that you have small boy, small girl. So this will help us to be able to, accept the data and match it into the map. And by the end of the thing, we'll be able to see that we are going to achieve exactly what we want to achieve.
Question number 3. How can we assist our teachers and administrators in implementation of plan for carrying out curriculum mapping?
Thank you very much. To start with, to assist teachers, the first thing we should do is that we must bring technology to our classrooms. There must be technology in the classroom. To teach language effectively, students must be able to listen to native speakers. How do we do that? We must have a language laboratory in the schools. And there must be professional development like we are having here, where the teachers are trained to use technology. Now when we have this, we can have online collaboration. Online collaboration now, you can learn from other teachers outside there, see the way they teach that particular topic, and bring it to your class. How do we do that? Even if your school does not provide you with a board like this or an interactive board, you can actually bring a small tape to the class. You can improvise. Bring a small tape to the class or use your phone, attach it to a speaker, then teach them. Then apart from the online collaboration, collaborating with other educators across the world, because it's a global village now, another thing is there are many useful educational sites. For every topic you want to teach, there's an educational site, there's a site that teaches that topic in a better way. And you can see by the time we go to this site, you can satisfy those learners that learn visually, with audio and kinesthetic, all forms of learners. So we can bring that into our classroom. So we should go to the internet, type your topics, there will be see many. For languages, BBC Learning English is very good. You see all the topics you want to teach there. They'll be able to listen to other to native speakers. Then they'll be able to communicate their ideas. And last but not the least is the outside classroom. We have to utilize the outside classroom. It's not that every time you just teach them in the classroom, they sit down, you teach, you just pack everything into their brain and you go out of the class. Actually, they might pass the exam, but learning has not taken place. For example, for literature in English, you want to write a poem, you can just, for example, the weather we're having today, you You can just tell the student, okay, let's go outside. Go outside the classroom. Check the environment. What do you see? What do you observe? Okay, I want you to write a poem for me concerning what you can see outside today. So all these things will assist the teachers to deliver lessons effectively. That is, a conducive learning environment, technology in the classroom, then the visit of educational sites, and the use of the outside classroom. Thank you very much.
Question number 4. What are the curriculum mapping processes?
Good morning. My name is Ifalodun Abiodun. Yes, when you want to map your curriculum, the process you go through is, first you have a class, you identify the class, the topic. I'm looking at adjectives, and the week, you're actually the topic for the week. Now, the first thing you do is you get your outcome. Now, the outcome is talking about what your pupils have in their foreknowledge, their previous knowledge, what they have been taught in the previous class, or what you think they should know at that time. You could have questions to actually get all these things, or you could ask them questions in the class, or you could give them sheets of papers and tell them to write, maybe ask some questions and tell them to write. Now, at the end, the children should be able, for this class, GS2, the children should be able to define adjectives, also give examples. Now, the next one you go to is the context. Now, you diversify the pupil's description. Now, we have known what the pupils know. As a teacher, you now know. You know, most times the error we make is, immediately we want to teach a topic, we just go straight. We can define adjectives, types of adjectives. Give examples. You start teaching even based on the previous knowledge. But what we should do is go straight to what you want to teach. Immediately you have identified your previous knowledge. Now you could just do a little review. Then you go straight to what you want to teach. Let's talk about describing pupils, describing things, describing places. Let's use words. Now we go to our dictation. You could dictate words for the pupils to describe. You could use your synonyms and antonyms. You could also use different things to make the pupils describe. We have words in literature. We have words in geography. We have words, places. Let's describe. You can dictate words for them, which they will use. Maybe I could dictate words like enormous. I could dictate words. Now they will now place which noun can we use enormous to describe, instead of me going back to what is an adjective. Now the next one is my resources. The textbook I'm using, the educational sites I'm using, let's write it there. Now the next one is differentiation. List. No, in the class we have those people that are weak, and we have the very high achievers. Now, you don't expect them to give you the same result. Now, when you're giving classwork, you will make room for differentiation. Now, you first of all give a task which everybody will be able to do. Now, for those high achievers, within minutes they are done. So in order for them not to keep disturbing the other pupils that are still struggling to finish the work, you have another ready-made work, which you will give them a higher task that you will give to those high achievers. So you are actually managing your class, because teaching also has to do with managing your class. Now the next one we look at our curriculum link, which we have discussed here already. Just as my other colleague said, that we should be able to let our pupils know that it is not, you want to be a lawyer, you don't have anything to do with maths. There is a curriculum link to every topic, to every subject. Now, in our curriculum link, we have science. parts of the body, sense organs. A big round head, a bulgy eyes, you understand, in my description. We have geography and describing places. I have literature, I have language. You understand? Thank you. Then we go to method. We have the pairing. I could pair my pupils together in a class. I will tell them, you group describe places, you group describe persons, you group describe things, use adjectives, bring out adjectives, use your dictionary, use your textbook, use your charts that I've listed out. So, thank you very much.
My name is Oluwasegun, and I'm representing the Arts and Humanities team. To start with, it's important that we know that the essence of curriculum mapping is not that we want to write a new curriculum, but it's to fine-tune the lacuna in the curriculum so that we can implement it for better performances of our students. And that leads us to how can curriculum mapping in itself improve students' performance, because that's the essence. The reason why we have the school is to really infuse in those students all that they need or require for better performances. So, number one thing we have identified actually is that curriculum mapping helps us to be in tune as teachers to make the students learn from the known to the unknown. For example, if we are discussing a topic like marriage or any other topic, no teacher walks into the class and just starts discussing the topic without stimulating the students for the topic. So in the process of you actually starting, making them to first know, to reveal the one that they do not know, that process is corroborated through the works of curriculum mapping. Number two thing that curriculum mapping does in helping us to improve students' performances is that it eases class activities through our knowledge of learning implementations. Implementations in terms of teaching aids. What do you come to the class with that would make the students to comprehend what you intend to pass to them? So what sort of teaching aid do you implement that will facilitate them to grasp whatever thing you are teaching them? So that's where curriculum mapping comes in. At the process of you fine-tuning and checkmating, pruning and screening the curriculum, you'll be able to easily attach a teaching aid, one learning implementation, to the topics that you are actually discussing in class. That facilitates students getting more understanding of your work, and the overall result you get is that they have a better and improved performance in that particular class activity. Number three thing that curriculum mapping does to improve students' performance is through the process of sequential connection of each topic. The curriculum mapping, we will, in the process, actually, that's number 4, in the process of curriculum, in curriculum process, we are to actually align our content together with the material resources that we have. But of importance also is how we sequentially arrange the topics also. Because when there's a connection of topics from one to another, it helps the students not to forget, but to also link all of these topics to another. Through curriculum mapping, we are able to highlight those sequential connections that each topic have, and we are able to implement and then teach the students. So it facilitates ease in learning activities for our students. Finally, curriculum mapping helps to set a roadmap for learning activities. By the time you highlight all of these, all curriculum process, by the time you highlight them and try to align everything, it ends up as schemes of work for your students, which I believe all our teachers actually give that. The students should know what you want to teach. That is a roadmap. They know what and what you are coming in to inform them about, and through that they're already prepared. So when your own preparation matches their own preparation also, the outcome you get will be a successful and a better student overall. Thank you very much.
Still standing on the existing protocol. The question 2 says, how can we take apart assessment data and merge our finding into our maps? What do we mean by this? Assessment, how can we take apart assessment data? That is, for example, the tests or exam we are giving our students before, maybe last term examination. You discover that there is a particular question that the student did not answer at all. Or there is a particular question that students answered but they did not do well. So how can we merge it now to into the finding into our map? That is what we are going to do now. The first thing is we have to revisit the particular question. For example now, when we resume, the students they collected their dossiers and you've marked their papers. You discover that there is a particular question they did not do well. When we resume back, during revision exercise, the first thing for you to do is to answer, you treat the question with them. You revisit the topic, the particular topic you discover they did not do well. Then another way in finding into our map is through assessment. After the revisitation of the topic, you assess them. Assessment can be in form of informative or summative. As you are teaching them, you can ask them questions. That is formative. You can give them classwork. It's another formative. And at the end, you have them questions for you to know whether they are going along with you or not. Doing so, you are finding your way into your map. Number 3 is peer tutoring or group work. You can group them and choose a leader. Most especially, you can use those ones that are the high flyer to be the head of the slow liner, because they will derive more joy in order to learn from their mate, and they will understand better than the teacher himself or herself. So you can use a peer tutoring or group work. Then another one is through instructional materials. As you are revisiting the topic, you also use instructional material along with you. The instructional material may be in form of visual, audio, or audio-visual. Because whatever students see, they don't forget. It will be in their retentive memory. Then the last one is methodology. For you to find your way into your roadmap, you need to change your method. For example, maybe the first method you use with them, that one does not work. That's why they did not choose the particular question, or that is why they did not do well in that particular question. You can change your methodology. You can use some. For example, I teach social study. Maybe I want to teach abstinence. I can come in because anytime I go into my class with some, they're always happy. I want to teach abstinence now. I may get to the class and sing the song, abstinence, abstinence is the surest way to be free from hate. Abstinence, you know that one we I enter class, the student will stand up and say, anytime I see my friend, I like to say hello. Anytime, that is the first thing. You will see that when you are doing so, you are moving, you are merging our way into the curriculum map. Thank you, everybody.
Still standing on the existing protocol. The next question is, how can we assist our teachers and administrators in developing an implementation plan for carrying out our curriculum? In our group, we agreed on the following outcomes through trainings and seminars as we are here, that teachers need to be informed so that they can perform very well. Because what really causes crisis in the classroom is lack of teachers' information. When teachers lack adequate information about what to do, how to do it, then crisis will surely come up in the classroom. But when teachers are well informed through seminars and training like this, it improves their effort in the classroom. Secondly, sharing educative ideas among teachers. That particularly this curriculum map or mapping that we are discussing about. Teachers, as teachers, we need to share it with departmental mates or colleagues so that they too can look into it and look at the shortcomings there in order to help us to draw up a good and effective curriculum map. Because if, as a teacher, you have drawn up a curriculum plan or map and it is shallow or too abstract, then there will be problem in the delivery or in the outcome of the learning process. So another thing that we agreed upon is that professionals in education sector must be involved in the curriculum mapping and planning process. Because we discussed one of the challenges of teachers in the public school, that you must teach what is in the curriculum, in the scheme of work, week by week. And if you fail to do that, or you try to adjust one, then you are going to have problem with your HOD, or when the quality assurance teams come around, you might be into trouble. So these bodies too that plan curriculum for our country should be informed about the need for teachers to be flexible in teaching topics in the scheme of work. Another thing we agreed on is teachers to source for more knowledge on the internet and reading of books. Other groups have discussed more on this, so I'll move on to the other one. That administrators should be informed about our findings so that it can be implemented. Now, some of us are here as teachers, considering looking at the other teachers that are not here, the large number of them in our schools that are not here, and the principals of the schools too are not here. But they too need to be informed, so that by the time you are presenting your own curriculum map to your departmental HOD, they won't be feeling too strange about what are you presenting or what is all of this nonsense. And by the time the issue gets to the principal, I don't know about it, please keep this to yourself. No, but they too should be invited for seminars like this so that they too can assist the teachers in carrying out and implementing their curriculum plan in the classroom. And to crown it off, we said that the teacher must be self-motivated, because majority of the people that are in the teaching profession are just there by adventure or by chance. But as teachers, you need to be self-motivated. That is the only way you can go far, or you can make extra effort in achieving results in your classroom. Thank you.
Hello everyone. And finally, we'll be taking what are the curriculum planning process. The first thing I want to say here is that in achieving anything that has to do with curriculum mapping, teachers are the boots on ground. We teachers are the boots on ground. Without the teachers, then curriculum mapping will not take place. I also want to add that curriculum mapping is searching for redundancy in the curriculum. It is not changing the curriculum, but it's actually searching for redundancy. And the first thing under the process is to make a spreadsheet. Just as we are seated, all of us have different spreadsheets on our tables. So whatever we want to teach, we need to make a spreadsheet. What is the subject that you want to teach? What do you intend to teach? Another thing we agreed in my group for the process is that the next stage is plan. You need to make a plan. Before you can do anything with curriculum mapping, you need to make a plan. There's a saying that if you fail to plan, then you have actually planned to fail. And what we are doing in this hall right now is that we are planning for a whole session. We are planning for first, second, and third term. Narrowing it down to our subjects, you need to make a plan before you come to class. And that is why we have a lesson plan. Without the lesson plan, then the teacher is not yet effective. So you need to draw out a plan of what you intend to teach and how you intend to achieve your teaching. Under the planning, that is where you will plan of what you want to do, the methodology of teaching that you want to adopt. Under the planning also, that is where you will think of developing PowerPoint that you want to use to teach your children. Under the planning also, that is where you will plan whether you want to use an interactive board to teach, or you want to show a video clip. All these come under the planning. A teacher that does not plan very well already will not be able to perform in class. The teacher becomes less effective and less productive. Under the planning too, that is when you think about questioning technique, whether you want to trigger their curiosity and make them think. It also comes under the planning. Another one is that you break down the content outcome. All these come under the process. Whatever you want to teach, you need to break it down. You need to break it to first term, second term, third term, and then you begin to break it down weekly. Coming down to your subjects, you need to break your subjects too down. For example, you want to teach electoral malpractice under civic education. First of all, you are going to break that topic itself down by first of all defining what electoral malpractice is, forms of electoral malpractice, causes of electoral malpractices, and then ways of preventing electoral malpractice. So whatever topic you want to teach, you have to break it down. And then you have to enter the content area to be covered. I'll just explain that too. Then the resources to be used. You want to develop PowerPoint, you want to use a video to teach. For private schools, they make use of PowerPoint presentation most of the time, and then they use videos to teach. But for some of us in public schools, I am sure most of us do not do that. But it's always good to use videos to teach. Somebody in my group gave an example that she used video to teach the birth of Christ in CRS. I don't think those children will ever forget. Under the resources, you can also take them on a field trip. Going on an excursion, you want to teach slave trade. Take them to places like Badagry, where you can actually trace the history of slave trade in Nigeria. Enter and align your learning resources. Ensure that whatever learning resources that you are using actually matches with the content of what you want to teach. I think that will be all for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please let's appreciate them again.
The task to develop a greater Lagos is not just one person's job. It's a job of every Lagosian, every Nigerian around the world. The diaspora has peculiar skills, intellect, and experiences that they can bring home, particularly to Lagos, to develop our economy. The Jewels of Africa Foundation have brought this 21st century Nobel Teachers Training Program to develop our state. Governor Babajide SANWO-OLU has a passion to develop the educational sector because it's part of his team's agenda, and also making Lagos a 21st century economy is part of it. So to develop Lagos to be that 21st century economy, you also need 21st century students, teachers who will develop themselves so that they can develop the students, so that the country and the state can be developed. The diaspora plays an important role. Many people in the diaspora just need an enabling environment, which we in the Lagos State government, under the leadership of Babajide SANWO-OLU governor, are so passionate about providing them with. They have the intellect, we are just providing an enabling environment for them to execute and develop this state. Well, this is a fantastic program. I'm always glad when those from the diaspora bring what they know and they come to showcase it in Lagos. It's been organized very well. We can see that the tutors, the facilitators are very, very enlightened. They bring international best practices and they want the people and teachers in Lagos to be able to implement them in their day-to-day teaching schedule. So they're talking about things about calendars, about using technology, about developing themselves. All these are essential for positive, progressive, intellectual growth. Well, the teachers should embrace it all, absorb it all, learn as much as they can learn, and most important, as I say, that knowledge is utilized when it is maximized. They should learn not just how to communicate, but how to connect with people. They should learn not just to teach, but also reach the students in ways that they can understand, creative ways, learn on the internet, learn with apps, and also ensure that students are better for it. And we believe a greater Lagos will be better out of it too. Well, I'd like to encourage diasporans out there to come back home, to come back to Lagos in particular. We are ready for you to receive your ideas, to receive all the knowledge that you've stored all these years. Come and deposit it in our lives, in students, in teachers, in the economy, so that we can grow to develop that greater Lagos. Nigeria is your home, is your motherland. It is where there is hope, there is promise, there is opportunities. So don't feel afraid of anything. Just see the opportunities and reach out for it. Impact lives, and your life will be impacted. We are waiting for you.
First and foremost, on behalf of the Lagos State government and on behalf of our amiable governor, Mr. Babajide SANWO-OLU, we actually want to appreciate the Jewels of Africa NGO for coming to Lagos State to impact this invaluable knowledge to our teachers. The fact remains that we need such trainings and learning opportunities for our teachers. And for Jewel of Africa, being in the diaspora and finding it thoughtful to come through Lagos State, we really appreciate it. And as you can see, today being a public holiday, the whole hall is filled up. Teachers eager to learn, to be impacted, so that we too will be 21st century compliant. And they're bringing in this new initiative, information that can be very impactful to our teachers. And on the long run, our teachers too, they are going to impact it on our students. So that, like they said inside, it's not just to be taught to pass exams. As far as children to be able to solve our problems as a nation. And so once again, I think it's a laudable venture between the state government and the NGO. The Jewel of Africa, they've been on this project, if I'm right, for over 5 years. They've been going all around the country, and so they have their own system of, getting teachers to know them.
So basically, it's an online registration. So they are all here from the nooks and crannies of the state, from Mekpe, from Badagry, from all our districts, education districts. We went on, we informed all our tutor generals about it, and we also have teachers from the private sector mingling with them.
Well, as a TGPS, I was first a teacher, then a principal, and now as a PS. I can say with confidence that an average teacher in Lagos State is ready to learn, because they realize that what Lagos State is doing in terms of welfare, in terms of being ready to make sure that our schools are ready, our schools are world class, our buildings are there, they are ready to do their own part to complement what the government is doing. And this, like the PS of TESCOM said, this particular program, they assessed the program through internet. And for them, like I said earlier on, for them to go out of their homes on a normal bank holiday and say they are here for a training, it tells you that they are really ready to compete with any other teacher in any part of the world. Like 400 of them, 500 of them registered. But because of the hall, because of the size of the hall, not all of them were allowed. So we believe that in future, we'll talk with the NGO if they can look for a bigger place where all of them, all those who are interested, can partake, then it will be welcome.
For all the NGOs and other private institutions that are so much interested with passion with what is going on in education, we sincerely appreciate their efforts, and we welcome them into our space in order for us to collaborate and ensure that the children are learning skills necessary for their future endeavors. Having said that, Jewel of Africa is most especially appreciated at this point in time, where we have a lot of teachers yearning for improved skills in terms of impacting knowledge into our children. It is good to know what entails in other spheres, in other countries, especially when it comes to the lesson plans, where we have the step-by-step of methodology of how to introduce knowledge into these children. We have seen that there are so many templates. So it's good to expose our teachers to the various templates so that we can see the pros and cons and see where to actually improve the gray areas in our own template in Lagos State. One thing that is heartwarming is that our teachers are ready to learn. They are ready to explore. And once you have teachers that are prepared to learn and explore and do the needful, then definitely we can be assured that they will stimulate the level of preparedness to learn on the part of the children. So for having them being trained at this time, during the long vacation, we have in a very relaxed atmosphere, then it gives them more time to prepare for resumption in September. And the creativity comes in, innovations come in, and the children will be better off for it by the time we resume in September next. By the time the children will be better off by the time we resume in September. The teachers that are here for the training, we appreciate them because they have shown passion, they have shown commitment. We appreciate them, and then we can only enjoin them to suck all possibilities to improve themselves on the job, and also ensure that whatever they learn here, they bring in their own originality, more creativity, innovation that will stimulate the children to learn.
Well, the drive for JOA to actually put our blueprints in Lagos, it wasn't, we've always had that. But the timeline of when is really what we could put together quickly, because we wanted to start our journey. Again, for us, we diasporans, I left this country over 30-something years ago. And when we came together and we knew that we needed to do something about the state of education, the leakage and the brokenness that we saw in the education system of the country. Of course, when you look at the landscape of the country and you look at the issue we're talking about, education, you know that it's not exactly the same as you move from state to state. First, we spent a period of a year where I literally came to the land and just what I would say, I'll call it a feasibility study, and I traveled across some of the southern regions to go into the public schools to actually get a good understanding of what's going on, what we have, and where do we start the journey from. In that assessment, so there are 6 of us on the board of Jewels of Africa Foundation. And we wanted to be very intentional and very strategic around it, that this is a systemic problem. We see leakages everywhere. We see brokenness everywhere. But where do you start? Where do you start in all of this mess? There were a lot of ideas. There were a lot of thoughts that got put together. What I would say we adopted was pretty much what I would say doctors adopt in an ER, in an emergency room. When a doctor is in an emergency room and looks at the patients that are sitting across the board, they look at who is about to pass out in the next maybe 30 seconds or a minute versus somebody who can still last the next 24 hours. The person that will last the next 24 hours might actually have the most problematic case, but maybe that person can still survive the next 24 hours. So they would rather deal with somebody who has about maybe a minute to pass out. I would say that was really what Jewels of Africa Foundation did. As we looked through the landscape of the country, state by state, case by case, we didn't see Lagos as really the greatest area in the country, because first, we knew that when people come to the country, when AIDS come to the country, everybody, Lagos is easily accessible. But as we went further into the other regions in the country, we found things I saw with my own 2 eyes, things I've never seen before. And this is the same country, the same nation where I was born, where I enjoyed the same public school education. I went to the same schools that I attended, and I saw that nothing was happening in the classrooms. And we kind of prioritized, all the states. And we went in and we said, you know what, let's go deep before we come to Lagos. But Lagos has been knocking the door. Of course, it would have been convenient for us to start in Lagos because you gain traction. But we know that we needed to do something in Lagos to echo what's going on in the country, because once you start in Lagos, it's easier for people to see the big picture. But we wanted to make sure that we're not losing those kids in the pockets of the country, kids in Okitipupa that nobody ever think about, kids in Ifeolukotu that nobody talks about. All these regions are pockets that I traveled, places people don't visit. Even your cars will get broken on the way. But we had to go there and engage these kids and engage the teachers that are there and engage the educators that are on the ground there and do something, at least draw a little bit of something there. Went to Delta, I was in Warri this time last year. Did exactly the same thing. We ran that training for 2 weeks consecutively there. But then Lagos was not giving up because, the resilience on them, and they kept knocking our door and say, you need to come do something. So we put all this together within a period of 3 weeks and said, you know what? We think the time is ripe. And what made it really, why it made sense to us to do this time in Lagos is we believe we have the right partnership with the new governor. Because as we're observing, as he started rolling out his agenda for the state, and he put education on the top. And that to us was bigger than life. Because in all of our conversations and in all of our engagements in the land, Yes, there are laundry lists of issues in the country. There's infrastructure. There's so many things that everybody could talk about. But for this governor to come into town and say, my number one priority, I want to fix education, we knew this is the right person to partner with. And then we started receiving those phone calls. And again, that made it really powerful and compelling for us that we need to pilot something. And we put this together in 3 weeks, and we just knew that, this is the right way to go. Oh yes, so JOA is in this for the long run. We have been waiting for the past 5 years to look for the right engagement. We've been doing this all by ourselves, with pockets of engagement. All we ask every state that is interested in this is give us a space. Give us a venue, because again, it helps us to, we are diasporans. I left this country over 35 years ago, and I don't know the landscape. Of course, we're 6 of us, I'm not Dangote. So everything operates on money here. So if a state government sees the need for this and they want to partner with us, all they need to do is provide a facility. Even when we engage Lagos State, we have a small capacity space here where we can only take 100 people. And the enrollment we had was so overwhelming within a period of 3 weeks. We had about 600 people enrolled in this program. And it breaks my heart that we could only take about 100 hen, simply because we don't have enough space to accommodate there. But luckily, with the engagement of the Lagos State government, we know that storyline is going to change, because again, if we have the space, if we have the capacity, we roll out the same thing. So what we're asking is the state government, give us a space for us to engage you and come alongside of you, because we know the state can't do it by themselves. No government does education by themselves. We all have to play our part in it. And we are in this for a very long run. We want to partner with this government. We want to do the best that we can and just, make sure we reposition the country to where it used to be, so that no one will have every cause to think about taking their kids to the private school. That's the only option. Because everyone in government today, that we all, from our president to the least person in this country, that hold any position, all went to public schools in Nigeria, including myself. And so we don't see any reason why we can't reinstate the country back to where it used to be. And that's the journey, that's our plight. It's a big dream, but we can achieve it when we all work together. And we believe with Lagos State partnership in this, we can make this happen, and we can really showcase this and replicate it all over in the country. This is 5 days of training. Yeah, let's say 4.5, because in Nigeria, Friday is really a half day, right? This is really the taster for this training. We have this part 1, we call it the 21st century part 1 training, and it's really is the foundational. The foundational training is 1 week, and then the ones we roll out after this is 2 weeks. That's the depth. We believe this is really very pivotal and very important for anyone that we're going to put in front of our children in the classrooms, that they do understand why they are in that classroom, what they're supposed to be doing in that classroom, and how. The what, the why, and the how of teaching, how you engage a child in the classroom, how you plan before you go into the classroom as a teacher. What are the fundamental things you need to do? Effective planning. What is it all about? What is the scope? What is your curriculum plan? What does it look like? Whichever subject you're teaching, how do you plan out your year that this is what I'm teaching in week 1 versus 2, 3, 4, 5? There are 40 academic weeks, I believe, in Nigeria in any year. Before a teacher steps into any school come September, they should have a blueprint of the roadmap of how they're going to execute to those scope for the 40 weeks. This 1 week, we will make sure that happens, because every single teacher in that classroom is going to walk out of this session with their roadmap for the year 2019-2020, their curriculum plan, and they will know how to take each week and decompose it into their lesson plan. Because planning, it's more of an art than a science. If you achieve that, the success rate is 50. You have achieved 50% of your success if you can get that done. so that by the time you engage those kids, your students actually can feel it in their pulse that my teacher is ready to engage. And that is really the fundamental of this 1 week. The fundamental is to teach the ABCs of engaging the classroom, coming into the class ready, not just rolling into the class. Coming into the class with the intent, with the hand in mind, that I want to engage these kids, I want to give them the optimal, and I want to teach to not just one child, I want to teach to the whole class, because every child learns differently. So they're going to take from this class how you engage the center, how you engage the high achievers, how you engage the ones below average. So we're going to try our best to make sure that we're all on the same page, so that when this Lagos State teachers goes into their classroom, into their schools, we will start seeing the numbers. And we're going to go into the classrooms with them. Guess what? We're going to monitor them. We're going to start measuring what's happening we're going to start seeing the before and the after picture. And there are ways we do that. We're going to monitor the success rate of the students in their classrooms. WAEC is one lens of saying that. But we're not going to wait for WAEC before we actually start saying that, because we will engage them. We will go to first-term exams and see what's going on in that classroom for that teacher. In second class, what's going on. We'll see what is happening, come to the tail end, how this teacher is taking what they have learned from this classroom, what they have mapped out in their curriculum planning, how they're executing to it. Because what we see is that by the time a teacher in most of the schools that we have seen is the fact that the year is ending and the teacher realizes it's only covered 50% of the curriculum. And then they're trying to cramp everything in it so that they can say, yes, I've done, check it off. That's not happening because you didn't plan well. So every one of the teachers that is going to be in this program, that is in that classroom today, will know how to do that effectively. And that is our goal for this week. Every teacher deserves to have this, no matter what. There is no way you can say, oh, this teacher deserves this more than the other. What it boiled down to, because when we realized that the capacity with the venue is small, was we said it's going to be first come, first serve. The first 100 that comes in will take them. And the rest of you just have to be on the waiting list until we work it out with the state government and they give us a bigger venue. So what we did was we collected their email addresses, their phone numbers, so that we could engage them and tell them where the next one is going to happen, so that they're not disenfranchised, because we want every teacher to get this. Because again, it's a partnership. We want to invest in our teachers and they deserve it. And we want to make sure that we're not turning them away. This is why we're here, and this is what we are passionate about, and we're going to do that. So when you go into our website, jewelsofafrica.org, you will see some faces there. You see 6 faces there, including myself. These are 6 peoples in diaspora that we all came together, and we have received so much from this same education system that looked broken, that looked decayed now. Some donkey years ago, and we are using everything. Again, Nigeria was a foundation for our education. So some of us are in the US, some of us are in the UK, and we are pouring into those nations. We're benefiting those nations, but again, that's a disenfranchised to Nigeria. But we feel the urge that we need to come back. We need to come back and play our role in this land and put something down. So what happened is that everything you see here done, every penny that you see here spent, is spent by these 6 people. There's nothing dropping from manna heaven here, and there's no government giving us any money or anything on it. But we know that, yes, we are not Dangote, but we have a little bit of something, and the little bit of something, we can stretch it a little bit and do something. So that's why, again, that plays actually as well into getting a space of a capacity to take 300 teachers versus getting one like we got for 100. Because when you start looking at pricing, and they start telling you that in order to get a space for 300, you have to pay 500,000 a day. Now do the math. Yes. So that's really what it boils down to. That's why for us, if you can get a space for free, great. Somebody can say, I'll give water, great. That lowers our expense of running this, because all we are sacrificing for, it has to take the sacrifice of everyone. Everybody can give something and say, come here, come run it, I'll give you a space. And that's one thing. Somebody can say, I will provide water. That is something. We want that. That's what partnership means to us, if anyone is interested. What we would encourage these people, for the ones that have taken the part 1 of the 21st century, which is this set of people, we will enroll them because they're going to be assessed and we're going to monitor them. We're going to see how they're progressing and how they have actually gone in and adopted it in their classrooms. And we will encourage them. So we want them to actually execute to this for a period of at least 1 year in their classrooms. We want to see the success trend before they go to the next one, because the second one is very, very intense. Because the second one it's really very intense. It's 2 weeks, and what we are packed into those 2 weeks is, I don't even know how we packed it into 2 weeks. So you need to take the part 1 before you can take the part 2. So these people will qualify at the end of this week for the part 2. But we still have a lot of people to train in part 1, because if it's only part 1 that you've taken, we will see the impact of that even in the results that are coming out of our schools, of our public schools in the states. And we've started seeing that in some of the states that we have rolled that out.